Dear learners, welcome to the channel Be a Learner. If you like my videos, click on the like button, subscribe my channel. Today we are going to study history, the making of a global world. Let us see how the global world was created. How was the pre-world and post-modern world? Let us study in detail about the pre-modern world. When we talk about globalization, we often refer to an economic system which was emerged since lot of decades ago. The economic system was emerged since 50 years ago. But you will see in this chapter the making of global world as a long history which includes history of trade, history of migration, history of people in search of work, history of the movement of capital and much more. As we think about the dramatic and visible signs of global interconnectedness in our life today, we need to understand one thing, that the phases through which the world is, which we live, has emerged. All through history and human societies have become steadily more interlinked. From ancient times, travelers, traders, priests, and pilgrims traveled vast distances. They used to travel from one place to another for purpose of knowledge, opportunity, spiritual fulfillment, or to escape persecution. And they were not only traveling alone. When they were traveling from one place to another, they were carrying goods, money, values, skills, ideas, inventions, and even germs and disease from one place to another. At that time, people used to fall ill and they were not easily going towards the doctor. They used to take medicines themselves with the help of few herbs, plants, tulsi. They used to eat this and they used to feel that we are going to be perfect within 1 or 2 days. Until and unless the person is not very ill and unable to walk, then only they were admitting to the hospitals, or else they used to just eat the tulsi kada and they used to be fit and fine. So when they were traveling from one place to another, they were not only carrying money, values, skills, and ideas, but also they were carrying germs and disease with them. As early as 3000 BC, an active coastal trade link, that is the Indus Valley civilization. At present, it is in West Asia. For more than a millennia, Koreas, the Hindi kaudi or seashells, it is used as a form of currency. From the Maldives, they found their way to China and East Africa. The long distance spread of disease carrying germs may be traced as far back in 7th century. It started from 7th century. See, when a person is not ill, that person should stay at home, or else the germs they spread anyhow in the form of water, in the form of air. Even if a person sneezes, millions of germs come out, and the other person or the same person itself is inhaling the same oxygen which is present in the air. And that's why when a person is not well, he should not be allowed to travel from one place to another. By the 13th century, it became an unmistakable link. Till 13th century, it started from 7th century until 13th century, it was unmistakable link. People were traveling from one place to another, whether they are ill or they are perfectly fine. But for work purpose, they used to travel from one place to another. Now, let us see about the Silk routes which link the world. The Silk routes are a good example of a vibrant pre modern trade and cultural links between the distant parts of the world. The name Silk routes points the importance of the westbound Chinese silk cargoes along this route. Historians have identified several silk routes over the land and by the sea, knitting together the vast regions of Asia and linking Asia with Europe and Northern Africa. Because of the Silk routes, different parts of the continents were connected together because of this business, and that's why it is named as Silk routes. They are known to have existed since before the Christian era. The Silk routes were there before Christian era and still they are ongoing. The Christian era and thrived almost till the 15th century. It continued from before Christian era till 15th century. But the Chinese pottery, they also traveled the same route of the Silk Route, as did the textiles and spices from India and Southeast Asia. Which things were going from the Silk routes? First were the Silk routes, second were the Chinese pottery, third were the textiles and spices from India and Southeast Asia. In return, precious metals, gold and silver flowed from Europe to Asia. From Asian continent, few things were going: silk, textile, spices, etc. And in return, what we were receiving? Metals, gold, silver. It flowed from Europe to Asia. Like it was a barter system that time. We have to exchange some or the other thing instead of other thing. And this was known as the trade. Next, trade and cultural exchange always went hand in hand. Means trade and cultural exchange. It went on hand in hand for many decades. Early Christian missionaries almost certainly traveled through to Asia, as did the early preachers few centuries later. Much before all this, Buddhism emerged. First, Christian people were there, then Muslim came, then came the Buddhism, and it spread all over the eastern India and different parts of the country. And they also started directions in intersecting points on the Silk routes. It was a great business at that time. People were earning good name from the silk. Slowly, foot travelers started. Now, we had studied in 1.1 that people are traveling, they are carrying silk, textile, and spices with them. So, definitely, people are going to feel hungry. It was a long distance journey. As I told you, they were traveling with food, clothes, their valuables, each and everything. They were traveling in caravans. Next came the food travels. Some specific people, they thought, why can't we provide few foods to them who are just traveling, and instead of that they can get something in return. At that time money was not that important part to receive. Food offers many examples of long distance cultural exchange. Traders, travelers introduced new crops to the land they traveled. Even ready food stuff was available at that time, that is spaghetti and potato. Even noodles were also there in Chinese countries. They used to bring it like a packed food and they used to sell to the travelers. And instead of that, whatever crops they are taking, what are the spices they are taking with them or textiles, they used to get in return. The Arab traders took pasta. The Chinese traders they took noodles. Similar foods were also known in India and Japan. So the truth about their origins may never be known, but suggests the possibility of long distance cultural contact. That means we feel nowadays the food has increased. Like we get the services from Zomato and Swiggy. It was there earlier also, but it was not that famous that time. But when we try to study history in deep, we will get to know, array, this was there at that time also. Many of our common foods such as potatoes, soya, groundnuts, maize, tomatoes, chilies, sweet potatoes, and so on were not known to our ancestors also. But until the 5th century, people were eating the food but they didn't knew the name of the food. What was that exactly? Slowly, people started knowing it, they started educating, and that afterwards they got to know, yeah, this is a food which we were eating. These foods were only introduced in Europe and Asia. after the Christopher Columbus accidentally discovered the vast continent that would later become known as Americans. These foods, soya, groundnuts, maize, tomatoes, chilies, sweet potatoes, were first introduced in Europe and afterwards it were introduced in Asia. After whom? After Christopher Columbus. And Christopher Columbus, he accidentally discovered America when he was traveling by waterway. You can see in the figure 3 merchants from the Venice and Orient exchanging goods from Marco Polo, Books of Marvels, 15th century. They were exchanging the goods.